I stayed silent. That's the part I'm most ashamed of. My name is Samuel Griffin. I'm 32 years old. I'm a project manager at Pulse Technologies, a startup in downtown Seattle. We're a young, dynamic team changing the future of cloud-based collaboration tools. Or so our website says. What we really are is 100 people in hoodies, drinking kombucha, working 80-hour weeks, and believing we're changing the world. And on a Tuesday morning in September, we hired a 52-year-old intern. His name was Douglas Mercer, and we treated him terribly. Have you ever watched someone be mistreated and stood up for them? Share your thoughts in the comments. And if you want more stories about workplace lessons, redemption and the cost of silence, hit that subscribe button and notification bell so you never miss our next story. Douglas walked in on his first day wearing khakis and a button-down shirt. Everyone else was in jeans and company hoodies. He carried a leather messenger bag, old, worn, the kind my grandfather might have used. He was bald, gray beard, reading glasses on a chain around his neck. He looked normal, like someone's dad, like a high school teacher, like a guy who should be thinking about retirement, not starting an internship. Our CEO, Jenna Park, 29, Stanford MBA, raised $40 million in Series B, greeted him in the lobby. "Douglas, welcome to Pulse. We're so excited to have you." She was trying. I'll give her that. Trying to sound enthusiastic about our age diversity initiative. We'd been called out 6 months earlier. Article in TechCrunch. Pulse Technologies, Innovation or Discrimination? Why does their oldest employee turn 35? This year. It went viral. Bad press. Uncomfortable conversations. So we hired Douglas, an intern, 52 years old, marketing department, reporting to Amanda, our 26-year-old marketing director. I watched him follow Jenna through the office, past the ping-pong table, the cold brew station, the nap pods. He looked around with quiet curiosity. Not intimidated, not impressed, just observing. "This is your desk," Jenna said, pointing to a spot near the supply closet. The worst desk in the office. The one nobody wanted because it was next to the printer. "Perfect, thank you," Douglas said. His voice was calm, deep, educated. He set down his bag, adjusted his chair, pulled out a notebook, an actual paper notebook, and a pen. Across the room I heard Kyle, 27 lead developer, snort. Is he seriously using a notebook? Maybe he doesn't know how computers work. Trevor, another dev, whispered back, loud enough for people to hear. Douglas didn't react, just wrote something down, looked around, smiled slightly, and I felt uncomfortable. That was the first time I felt it. That discomfort, that knowing something is wrong feeling, but I didn't say anything. The first week was bad, not overtly hostile, nothing HR could point to. Just condescension. Constant, dripping condescension. "Douglas, do you know how to use Slack?" Amanda asked, speaking slowly, loudly. "I do, thank you." "Okay, great. Let me know if you need help. It can be confusing." She was 26, he was 52, and she was talking to him like he was 5. At lunch, Douglas sat alone. He'd brought food from home. Tupperware, a sandwich, an apple. Everyone else ordered delivery. Ate at their desks, worked through lunch. "Look at Grandpa," Kyle said, not even whispering. "Taking a real lunch break. Must be nice to be retired." "He's not retired," I said quietly. "He's working here." "Barely." Trevor laughed. Douglas, 10 feet away, heard. I know he heard, but he just ate his sandwich, read something on his phone, didn't engage. And I didn't defend him. I thought about it, opened my mouth, then closed it. "It's not that bad," I told myself. "They're just joking." But I knew it wasn't a joke. By week 3, they'd created a Slack channel, where old Doug doesn't get it. I wasn't invited to it, but I heard about it, saw screenshots that people shared, memes about Douglas. When Douglas tries to understand TikTok, picture of confused old man. When Douglas sends an email instead of a Slack, picture of ancient technology. Douglas's startup idea, the wheel. 50 people in that channel, laughing, bonding over mockery. I didn't join, but I didn't report it either. Amanda, his manager, was in the channel, laughing with everyone else. Douglas never mentioned it, never complained, just showed up every day. Did his work, took notes, asked questions. Good questions, actually. In a marketing meeting, he asked, "Why are we targeting 18-25 demographics exclusively? Don't older users have more disposable income?" Amanda laughed. "Douglas, older people don't use apps like this." "Why not?" "They just don't. They're not digital natives." "I see." He wrote something down. Later, a competitor launched a product targeting 40-plus users. It did incredibly well. Nobody mentioned Douglas's question. I started noticing things, small things. Douglas would arrive early, before most people, sit at his terrible desk by the printer, work quietly. He never complained about the desk, never asked for better equipment. He had an old laptop, slow, but he made it work. He organized the supply closet without being asked, made it actually functional, color-coded, labeled, efficient. "Thanks for babysitting the supplies, Doug," Kyle said one day, patronizing, like thanking a child. "You're welcome," Douglas replied. Even, no edge. During a company all-hands, Douglas asked a question about our financial projections, specific, technical, about burn rate and runway. Jenna fumbled the answer. "We're in good shape, Douglas. Don't worry about it." "I'm not worried. I'm curious about the math. We have it handled." She moved on quickly. But I noticed, Douglas's question was actually excellent. The kind a sophisticated investor would ask, the kind that would reveal if we were in trouble. Were we in trouble? I didn't know. But Douglas seemed to. 3 months in, something shifted. We lost a major client. Contract worth $800K annually. They went to a competitor. Jenna called an emergency meeting. Everyone crammed into the conference room. "We need ideas," she said, trying to stay calm, failing. "How do we win them back? How do we prevent this from happening again?" People threw out ideas, mostly bad, mostly panic. Douglas raised his hand. "Yes, Douglas?" Jenna's tone was patient, the way you'd call on a child. "I reviewed the client communication logs," Douglas said. With permission from Amanda, the client expressed concerns about feature X 3 times over 6 months. We acknowledged but never addressed it. The competitor addressed it. That's why they left. Silence. "We did address it," Amanda said, defensive. "We said we'd address it. We didn't actually do it." "That's not—" "I have the logs if you'd like to review them." More silence. Jenna cleared her throat. "Okay, that's good feedback, Douglas. We'll look into it." After the meeting, I heard Kyle. "Great. Now Grandpa's lecturing us on client relations." "He's not wrong, though," someone else said quietly. "Whose side are you on?" I walked away, that uncomfortable feeling growing. 4 months in, we had a problem. A technical crisis, server architecture issue. Site was crashing under load. The dev team was panicking, trying solutions. Nothing worked. Douglas at his desk said quietly, "Have you tried load balancing with—" And he mentioned a specific technical solution. Kyle cut him off. "Douglas, no offense, but this is complex infrastructure stuff. It's not like organizing supplies." "I understand. I just thought, we've got it. Thanks." 3 days later, they implemented essentially what Douglas suggested. It worked. Nobody thanked him. 6 months, half a year of watching Douglas be treated like he was incompetent, like he was a burden, like he was lucky to be there. Half a year of me feeling uncomfortable and doing nothing. Until the day everything changed. It was a Friday. Team happy hour. The beer fridge was open, people were relaxing. Douglas was at his desk, still working. He never came to happy hour, never invited, or invited in a way that made it clear he wasn't really wanted. Kyle was drunk, getting louder. "You know what I don't get?" he announced to the room. "Why is Doug even here? Like, seriously, what's the point?" Some people laughed, nervous laughs. "He's learning," someone offered. "Learning what? How to be slow? How to not understand technology?" Kyle was on a roll. "He's like a diversity hire, but for old people. It's charity." More laughs, less nervous now. Douglas, at his desk, went very still, and something in me snapped. Maybe it was the 6 months of accumulated guilt. Maybe it was the look on Douglas's face, not hurt, just resigned, like he'd expected this all along. Maybe I was just tired of being a coward. "Kyle!" My voice was loud, sharp. "Stop." The room went quiet. "What?" Kyle turned to me, confused. We were friendly. I'd never challenged him before. "You need to stop, right now." "Dude, it's not just anything. You've been treating Douglas like garbage for 6 months. We all have, and he doesn't deserve it." "I'm not treating him like—" "You literally just called him a charity case." "I didn't mean—" "Yes, you did." I looked around the room. At all of them. "We all did. We decided he didn't belong here because he's older, because he doesn't fit our aesthetic, because it's easier to mock him than to respect him. Sam, come on. He shows up early, works late, does every task we give him without complaint, asks good questions that we ignore, gives good advice that we dismiss, and we treat him like he's lucky to be here." I looked at Douglas. He was watching me, expression unreadable. "You're right," I said to him. "About the client, about the load balancing, about the demographics. You've been right about a lot of things, and we've been too arrogant to listen." Douglas stood, slowly walked over. I thought he might thank me, or shake my hand. Instead, he looked at me with something like sadness. "You're right, Samuel," he said quietly, "but it shouldn't have taken 6 months." He picked up his bag and walked out. Monday morning, Douglas wasn't at his desk. "He quit," Amanda said. She looked uncomfortable. "Sent an email over the weekend. Said his internship was complete." "Did he say why?" Jenna asked. "Just that he'd learned what he needed to learn." Kyle avoided eye contact with me. The whole office felt strange. Guilty, but also relieved. Like a problem had solved itself. Tuesday afternoon, Jenna called an emergency all-hands meeting. "We have a situation," she said, looking pale. "I just got a call from Gregory Sullivan." Gregory Sullivan, one of the most prominent venture capitalists in Seattle. We'd been trying to get a meeting with him for years. "He wants to meet about potential investment," Jenna continued, "which is great. But he asked specifically about Douglas Mercer. He said, and I quote, 'I heard Douglas was working for you. How was that? Did you learn anything from him?'" Confused looks around the room. "Why would Gregory Sullivan care about our intern?" Amanda asked. Jenna pulled up her laptop, projected something on the screen, a Forbes article from 4 years ago. Douglas Mercer sells AI startup to Microsoft for $2.1 billion. The room went dead silent. There was a photo. Younger, but unmistakable. Our intern, Douglas, in a suit, shaking hands with Microsoft's CEO. "That's—" Amanda's voice was tiny. "That's not the same person." But it was. Obviously it was. Jenna scrolled. More articles. Tech billionaire Douglas Mercer announces retirement at 48. Mercer's philanthropic turn. What's next for AI pioneer? Where is Douglas Mercer, the billionaire who disappeared? Kyle looked like he might vomit. "He's worth," Jenna's voice shook, "approximately $2.3 billion. He has a PhD in computer science from MIT. He pioneered machine learning algorithms we still use. He's on the board of 3 Fortune 500 companies. And we," she looked around the room, "had him organizing our supply closet." The news spread instantly. Internal Slack exploded. People frantically deleting messages from "Your old Doug doesn't get it." Too late. Screenshots existed. By Wednesday, TechCrunch had the story. Billionaire Douglas Mercer went undercover as intern at startup. They had no idea. The article quoted anonymous sources, detailed the mockery, the condescension, the "Your old Doug doesn't get it" channel. We looked like monsters, because we were. Thursday, Douglas agreed to a phone call with Jenna. She put it on speaker, the leadership team in the room, including me. "Douglas," Jenna's voice was shaking. "I don't know what to say. We had no idea who you were. If we'd known—" "You'd have treated me differently," Douglas interrupted. His voice was calm. "That's the point, Jenna. I don't understand. Why did you do this?" I wanted to understand something. I've been in tech for 30 years, started when I was young, always worked with young people, always valued youth and speed and disruption. He paused. "But I'm not young anymore, and I started wondering, what happens to people like me in this industry? Where do we go? Are we still valued?" "Of course you're valued." "Am I? Be honest. If a 52-year-old applied to Pulse, not as an intern, as an engineer or a manager, would you hire them?" Silence. "That's what I thought," Douglas said. "You hired me as an intern because of bad press, as a box to check. You never expected me to contribute anything real. You never thought I could." "That's not fair," Amanda said. "You were an intern. We gave you intern tasks." "You gave me intern tasks because you saw an old man who couldn't keep up." "But the questions I asked, the suggestions I made, those weren't intern level. You know they weren't, but you dismissed them anyway, not because they were wrong, because of who they came from." Nobody argued, because he was right. The client communication issue, the load balancing solution, the demographic targeting. I was right about all of it. You know I was. But it was easier to ignore me than to admit an old intern might know something you didn't. More silence. "You want to know the saddest part?" Douglas's voice was soft now. "I liked the work. I liked being there. I liked learning how startups operate now. I met smart, talented people. But I was never one of them to you. I was always just the old guy." "Douglas," I said, my voice rough. "I'm sorry, I watched it happen. I felt it was wrong. But I didn't speak up." "You did speak up, Samuel," Douglas said. "Eventually. That means something." "Not enough." "No, but it's more than the others did." Kyle looked at his hands. "I need you all to understand something," Douglas continued. "This isn't about me. I'm fine. I have more money than I'll ever need. I don't need your validation or respect. But the next 50-year-old who applies to work in tech, the next person who doesn't fit your demographic, experienced or intern, they'll need it, and based on what I experienced, they won't get it." "We'll change," Jenna said. "We'll do better. Will you? Or will you just be more careful about who you mock? Will you actually value experience and diversity, or just perform it better?" No one answered. "I hope you change," Douglas said. "I really do. Because tech needs people of all ages, all backgrounds, all perspectives, and right now you're not just losing talent, you're actively driving it away. Is there anything we can do?" Jenna asked. "To make this right?" "For me? Nothing. I'm fine. But for your culture? That's up to you." He hung up. Friday. Jenna called another all-hands meeting. "I've been doing a lot of thinking," she said. She looked like she hadn't slept. "About what happened with Douglas, about what it says about us, about who we are as a company." She pulled up the Old Doug Doesn't Get It channel. On the screen. For everyone to see. People squirmed. This is who we were. This is what we did to someone who came here in good faith, who worked hard, who treated us with respect even when we gave him none. She scrolled through the memes, the jokes, the mockery. Some of you are thinking, "We didn't know who he was. If we'd known he was a billionaire, we'd have acted differently." She looked around the room. That's exactly the problem. Douglas's worth as a human being shouldn't depend on his net worth. His ideas shouldn't be dismissed because of his age. His contributions shouldn't require a Forbes article to be taken seriously. We failed, completely. And we need to own that. She outlined changes, real ones, not PR stunts, mandatory bias training, age discrimination policies, diverse interview panels, hiring goals for people over 40. And, she said, Kyle, Trevor, Amanda, you're being formally reprimanded. Documentation in your files. You led the mockery. You created that Slack channel. That's not acceptable here. Kyle's face went red. Anyone who can't treat colleagues with basic respect, regardless of age, background, or status, doesn't belong at Pulse. Is that clear? Everyone nodded. Good, because I never want to feel this ashamed of our company again. The story stayed in the news for weeks. Douglas gave one interview, to NPR. The host asked, "Why did you do it? What did you want to prove?" "I didn't want to prove anything," Douglas said. "I wanted to understand, and I wanted the industry to see itself honestly, to see how we treat people who don't fit the young, hoodie-wearing, disruption-obsessed mold." And what did you learn? That ageism in tech is real, pervasive, casual. People don't even recognize it as discrimination. They think it's just culture. We're a young company with a young vibe. But that's code for if you're over 40, you don't belong. Do you think things will change? I hope so, but hoping isn't enough. Companies need to actively work against their biases, hire older workers, value experience, create cultures where people of all ages feel welcome. What would you say to the people at Pulse who mocked you? I'd say they're not bad people. They're products of a system that tells them youth equals innovation, that older workers are obsolete, that anyone over 40 can't keep up. Those beliefs are wrong and harmful, but they're also fixable if people are willing to examine them. I listened to that interview alone in my apartment, and I cried. I told myself it wasn't my problem, that it wasn't that bad, that I wasn't participating so I wasn't responsible. But silence is participation. Inaction is a choice, and I chose wrong. For 6 months. 3 months later, I got an email. From Douglas. Subject: Coffee? We met at a cafe in Capitol Hill. He was wearing jeans and a sweater, looking relaxed, not like a billionaire, just like Douglas. "Thank you for meeting me," I said. Still guilty, still ashamed. "Of course. I wanted to check in, see how things are going." At Pulse? Different. Better, I think. We hired 3 people over 45 in the last 2 months. Jenna's serious about the changes. That's good. But I look down. I still feel terrible about what I didn't do, what I didn't say. You spoke up eventually. Not enough. Not soon enough. Douglas was quiet for a moment. Then, "Samuel, can I tell you why I really wanted to meet?" "Okay." "Because you're the one I'm most hopeful about." I looked up, confused. Kyle, Trevor, Amanda. They learned a lesson about consequences, about getting caught. They're better now because they're scared. But you're better because you're aware. You understand the cost of silence, and that's much more valuable. I don't feel valuable. I feel like a coward. You were, for a while. But you stopped being one. That's growth. He sipped his coffee. Most people never have that moment, that realization that their inaction hurt someone. They go through life assuming if they're not actively being cruel, they're good people. But you know better now. You know that witnessing cruelty and doing nothing makes you complicit. So what do I do with that? You never stay silent again. Not when you see someone being dismissed, underestimated, treated as less than. You speak up. Immediately. Even when it's uncomfortable. Especially when it's uncomfortable. I nodded. I will. I promise. Good. He smiled. Then what happened at Pulse, all of it, won't have been for nothing. We talked for another hour, about tech, about ageism, about his experience going undercover at other companies too. Pulse wasn't the first. As we left, I asked, "Douglas, one more thing. That question you asked Jenna, about the financial projections, the burn rate, were we in trouble?" He smiled. "What do you think?" "I think we were closer to running out of money than we admitted." "You'd be right. 6 months of runway at the burn rate you were maintaining. Maybe less." "Did you tell anyone?" "I tried. In the meeting. Jenna dismissed it. So I sent a memo. Detailed, with projections and recommendations. What happened to it?" "Amanda threw it away. I saw her do it, didn't even read it." "Jesus." "It's okay. You course-corrected eventually, but you came close to a cliff." We shook hands. He turned to go. "Douglas?" "Yes?" "Thank you for the lesson, for giving us a chance to be better." "Samuel, I didn't give you anything. The opportunity to be better was always there. You just had to take it." 2 years later. Pulse is different now. We have 42 employees over 40, including our new CTO, who's 61. We have age diversity training, mentorship programs pairing young and older employees, a zero-tolerance policy for age-related jokes or dismissiveness, and we're better for it, measurably. Our retention is up, our product is stronger, our culture is healthier. But I'm not telling you this story to celebrate Pulse. I'm telling you because last week we hired a new intern, 22 years old, recent college grad, eager, a little naive, and in his first meeting he made a suggestion. It wasn't great. It showed he didn't fully understand our product yet. And one of our developers, 28, talented, confident, started to dismiss him. I saw it happening. The eye roll, the condescending smile, the beginning of mockery, and I stopped it, right there, in the moment. "Wait," I said. "Let him finish." The developer looked at me, annoyed. "He's an intern. He's a colleague, with ideas. Let him finish." The intern finished his thought. It still wasn't great, but it had a kernel of something, a perspective we hadn't considered. "That's interesting," I said. "Can you develop that more? I'd like to hear where you go with it." The intern's face lit up. After the meeting, the developer approached me. "Why'd you do that? His idea was half-baked." "Maybe, but he's learning, and he'll learn better if we listen, if we treat his contributions as valuable, even when they're imperfect." "He's 22. So, age doesn't determine worth, contribution does, effort does, humanity does." The developer thought about that, nodded. "You're right. Sorry. Don't apologize to me. Encourage him. Help him develop the idea. That's how we all get better." I never forgot Douglas's lesson. Silence is complicity. Inaction is a choice, and every person, regardless of age, experience, or status, deserves to be seen, heard, and respected. Not because of what they're worth, but because they're human. That's the lesson, and I'll never forget it again. Which moment hit you hardest? When Samuel finally spoke up after 6 months? When Douglas revealed why he did it? Or when Samuel learned to intervene immediately? Share your thoughts, your stories of staying silent or speaking up, and your workplace lessons in the comments below. If this story about ageism, redemption, and the cost of silence moved you, please hit that like button and subscribe for more stories about workplace lessons, treating people with dignity, and the moments that change who we are. Don't forget to click the notification bell so you never miss our next story. Thanks for watching, and we see you in the next one.